Our guard has taken out his gun. They're saying he fired his gun.
Okay.
The security guard fired his gun, and they got scared, of course. At the same time, they're saying that everything is okay. Let's continue. They're taking me away now. This was unexpected.
Hey, Chucky.
Guys, today I will show you how people live in a country where it's really dangerous for foreigners to go outside in public areas for more than 10 or 20 minutes. Just yesterday evening, a bomb went off right here. One of the officers was blown up. A car drove up and the bomb went off. 2 of his security guards were killed. They won't let me go out in order to get a better shot of this. Every important building here was turned into a bunker, protected by Czech hedgehogs and spiked strips, and even a row of spiked rails that stick out of the ground.
То есть вот эти конкретно блоки.
These blocks are set up specially in order to stop the blasts. I will show you a former hitman. He worked for a terrorist organization. He dug tunnels for jihadists and witnessed their atrocities firsthand. They killed 3 soldiers. They detained them at night. They blindfolded them and began to invite people over to come and watch. People here live in shacks which form whole neighborhoods. In this shack, for example, is a school, or rather a madrasa. This one is a shop. Everything was built out of corrugated galvanized iron, pieces of iron or steel that are usually used to build fences.
Просто взяли и решили просто.
They just decided to build a home in the middle of this mud. There was a tree here, for example, and nobody cared that there was a tree here. Who cares? So what if there's a tree? We can still build a house here. This country is considered to be the most dangerous for tourists because the terrorists and bandits hunt down foreigners. They don't care so much about killing people. They want their actions to have international impact. That is, the more citizens from foreign countries that they blow up or kidnap, the more journalists will cover the story. This is how Somalia does hype. This is Lyadov. Today we're in the homeland of the most daring pirates in the world. This is the African country, Somalia, which has lived in a state of absolute chaos for the last 30 years. In order for you to understand the level of chaos they experience, the Minister of Public Works was fairly recently shot here by mistake. The security service really mistook him for an armed jihadist. There are still cities and villages connected to the terrorist organization, which has connections to Al-Qaeda. We will be going to those areas too. This is Lyadov and how people live in Somalia. Guys, let's be honest, the only thing you've heard about Somalia, unless you know more about the issue, is that the country is super dangerous and that they have pirates. Even though right now there are more pirates from the other side of Africa, in the Gulf of Guinea, the Somali pirate brand is still very popular. Somalia's good geographical location is the reason for that. The country stretches along a very prosperous sea route, which connects Europe and Asia. The richest companies that transport oil, liquefied gas and other such goods from the Persian Gulf to the Mediterranean Sea save money by not sending the goods around Africa with an 8,000 kilometers trip. They transport everything along the narrow Suez Canal to get to the main ports of Europe faster and cheaper. For a long time they were interceded by bandits similar to Gopniks, only with AK-47s and grenade launchers. And because they were on ships, people started to refer to them as pirates. This was such easy money that soon investors appeared, and a whole industry of taking over ships was formed. 4 main clans of pirates were formed in the country. Ali's Wahila Group. This is a group that works as a real corporation with huge profits. It costs $30,000 to take over a ship, and the ransom is set at a minimum of $2 million. This group was led by a former officer, Isse Yulups. Laskorai Action Group is another such group. It has connections to the most famous pirate in Somalia, Hassan. This daring man had the audacity to take over not just any ship, he took over a 330-meter oil tanker. He also attacked a huge motor ship, which was transporting not just any old thing, but 30 T-72 tanks. He has hijacked dozens of ships for millions of dollars. When the local Al-Shabaab terrorists came to put pressure on him, they were also very influential in Somalia. He simply struck a deal with them, offering them $100,000 for every ship or plane he hijacked. He also financed the second largest pirate group, the Saliban clan. The pirate clans were making the same profits as international corporations. There were a lot of weapons left over in Somalia after the civil wars, and nobody was controlling it. This is why another form of thugs came around, terrorists. The Al-Shabaab faction is linked to Al-Qaeda. They took over several cities and established their own laws there. We've now left the capital of Somalia, Mogadishu city, and we're driving towards the demarcation line. This is the line of contact between the Somali army with the terrorists. The thing is, there are still zones, which are controlled by terrorists. We're talking whole cities there. Everything is set up for real. Trenches, minefields, etc. There is an escort car ahead with 4 machine gun operators. Each has 5 magazines on his belt, plus sheathed knives. This is standard equipment here. Tourists and journalists are prohibited from travelling without such a security escort. Security is expensive as well, between $250 and $1,000 a day. The so-called market for security guards used to begin outside the Mogadishu airport, when there were strong guys standing around offering their services. Our guards were pretty relaxed. Here's a guard riding in the back, putting on his sandals on the go, while we were stuck in traffic. Take the lit cigarette from a man and just carry on smoking it. We drove around like royalty. For example, it started to rain and a traffic jam formed in the city. Our driver, without thinking twice, drives out into the oncoming lane and overtakes everyone. Even an ambulance, damn it. When it was hot, they didn't care about military berets. There's a guy who tied a hood on his head. That's how hot he was.
Guys, one thing I want to share with you is that when you travel to high-risk zones, the most important thing you need to think about is security, and it also includes internet security. And if you are like me, are concerned with being online safe and about your privacy, I advise you to use a VPN service. It also helped me a lot when I was in Venezuela, because it blocks all the Western websites which criticize their government. That's why I'm so excited to be sponsored by Private Internet Access, which is the leading no-lock VPN service with over 30 million downloads. As you know, in the age of data being the most valuable piece of an asset, governments and companies want to have as much data about you as possible. So Private Internet Access keeps my private information protected when traveling to high-risk areas. I also use Private Internet Access on my mobile phone and also on my laptop to bypass geo restrictions, to unblock streaming services like Hulu, for example Netflix, Amazon Prime, and much more. I really like Private Internet Access for its convenience, because it has applications for all the platforms, for example iOS, Windows, Android, and much more. Moreover, it allows you to protect up to 10 devices simultaneously. This VPN provides unlimited access to almost 20,000 services in 70 countries. They've got a PC Mac Editor's Choice Award and multiple payment options like Bitcoin, PayPal, and gift cards. If you want to protect your digital life, please use my link in the description to support my channel. You can get 2 years plus 3 months free from Private Internet Access for just $2.59 for a month. Plus, you get to enjoy the 30-day money-back guarantee. And now, let's get back to Somalia.
Вот так выглядит.
This is the local market.
Это просто охренеть.
This is unbelievable. I've never seen anything like this. They're supposedly selling fish here. Damn it, it's everywhere on the floor. Guts spilling everywhere. We're walking around in blood. Every man is shouting at you, "Hey man, buy my fish." This is just outright savage. These guys tied up a stingray with some dirty tights, and they're dragging it across the tiles. They transported the fish and mopped the floor.
Просто дичь вообще.
Just utterly brutal. Look, they're throwing fish on the floor. Look, they just sliced it straight in half with a knife. He's got 2 knives. Just here on the floor, barefoot, damn it. Look, he's just standing there. Doesn't give a damn. Sliced a piece off? What's he gonna do with the guts? The guts are just blood spilling straight on the floor. That's it. Go on, take your pick. The guts and everything else that can't be sold is just thrown in the gutter. The bones which you can use to at least make soup, they go into the buckets. Those who don't have buckets make them out of boxes, which are strapped in bags. The only way to go through this mess is to kick the fish heads out of the way. There's tuna here and shark, all covered in flies. They cut the fish right before the buyer's eyes. They put them in bags. Some of it is sold to individuals, some of it goes to restaurants. Part of it is set up for export. There are fish drying areas especially for this, opposite the market on the ocean shore.
Такой вот берег, условно, из какого-то кораллового рифа.
There is a kind of shore made up of coral reef. It's covered, you'll never guess what. This here, which smells horribly, it's shark meat. It just smells so... They salted it, thrown it all over the shore and it's left to dry. What for? In order to export it to another country. The people who will be buying it there have no idea what conditions the meat was prepared in. This looks horrible. Because look, there are bottles just lying here, dirt everywhere. People walk around from time to time, stepping on the shark meat, and then the meat is exported and people eat it. Yes, if you're a blogger, you can't just walk past the shark tails on a dirty beach. I broke off a piece on purpose.
Что вы думали, я не
Do you
попробую?
think I wouldn't try it? Of course, yes. I tore a big piece off.
Господи, боже мой.
Oh God, help me.
Удачи, пожалуйста. На самом деле,
Actually tastes alright. Just regular dried fish, the kind you'd eat with beer. I can't get over the fact that I just took it just now, from here on this dirty ground, covered in trash, sand, where the Somalian children have been running around. It gives the fish a special aftertaste. But yeah, I mean, it's fine, you can eat it. In order to fly from Russia to Somalia, especially now with coronavirus, you need to have 2 layovers. From snowy Moscow, I first flew to Istanbul.
я такого никогда не видел. Это уже гейт.
I've never seen anything like this. I'm already at the gate. You've already been through the passport control at this point. You see, here's a man standing behind me. He's walking around at random. He goes around, comes up to someone and points his finger, saying, "You need to be checked again." He's been taken to this table. He's turning out his pockets, taking his things out of his bags. The lady is taking her shoes off, you see. Poor thing. This is due to the fact that the amount of terrorist attacks in Africa is still pretty huge. It's a regular occurrence in Africa. This is why they're so vigilant with the security checks here. From Istanbul, I flew to Ethiopia. I didn't even check the weather forecast. I thought, what could the weather be like in Africa? I packed all my long sleeve shirts and jackets in my suitcase.
Удивительно, тут довольно
It's
холодно.
actually quite cold here, surprisingly. It's sunny, but when it gets windy, it's chilly. And when it's really windy, it gets very cold. I'm lucky when it comes to my layovers, because a war broke out in Ethiopia just before I flew there. Yes, really. They have this territory here, like Karabakh, which they can't divide. They fought for the territory for decades. They have a president who is still president. Fairly recently, he received a Nobel Prize for bringing the war to an end. But just after he got his Nobel Prize, he went and started another war. When you enter the airport, it's clear that you're in Africa. The women are sitting on the floor barefoot, but they are in hijabs. They only take down the mouth cover if they're very thirsty. They're selling abibas in the duty-free shop, and the shopkeepers are sleeping next to the cash register. You see, a man is sleeping on the floor on some cardboard. There are still people who smoke in the airport here.
Вот стоит чувак просто.
There's a guy standing there and smoking. You walk around and there's smoke everywhere. Look, unbelievable, people. Crazy. I haven't seen this in ages, anywhere.
Вот он самолет, на котором я уже лечу.
The flight I'm on is going directly to Mogadishu, Somalia. They're looking at me as if I was naked or something, honestly. I don't think it has that much to do with my skin colour, but more the mere fact that I'm a foreigner. I'm the only one with a camera. That's the kind of country I'm flying to. 90% of the people react very negatively to my camera. Even if you're not even shooting in someone's direction, they will already start to get upset. Somalia is also a Muslim country, where they're extremely strict about their customs and traditions. I'm talking about the fact that you can't legally buy alcohol anywhere. You can only get beer at an extortionate price. You can't go out in shorts, but people dress a little bit unusually here in general. Have a look at the hat worn by the guy sitting next to me.
to his chest, black toe, Astra, tryna aim at your hat. You could be white, Asian, or black. When I set my target, I ain't cutting no slack. Head, chest, back, that's a body can lapse. Little nigga got bored for the kibble he chat. Told stop drilling cause the odd boy was mad, but it didn't take long to go back and relapse. Laps, we got a towels on smash. Line out the cash, you don't wanna get crashed. 5 man in a ride, you don't wanna get flagged. We get harassed by the TSG vans, POD, DXV, that's a CID gang. Hansen strict straight out of the can. Everybody gon' move when they hear it go bang. Had a head start, so I dashed my shank. 4 hours forward till it didn't come back.
We get off the airplane. Damn guys, there's no bus. There was one, but it left. They're like, damn, basically, who knows where we can find one. So the guys decided, well, let's go on foot. On foot it is. You can feel that we have something in common. Tourists fly to Somalia only in organised groups. The first reason is that Africans try to control absolutely all foreigners. This is one way of protection against all kinds of spies, considering there is always some kind of war here. Very interesting. Some random dude is coming up to me now and shouts, "Are you Anton?" How in the hell did he figure out that I'm Anton out of everywhere in the airport? The second reason is that to be alone here is really unsafe for a foreigner, even on the street. That's why tourists are provided with guides, including those sent by the government. They also don't allow just anyone to visit. Here, if you want to come, you need to stand in this line, then go into this little cabin here, pay $68, get what's called a visa on arrival. There is a category of countries that do not need visas, but we Russians need it. What do you know? There is a special high-ranking official sitting somewhere at the airport, and he can point at someone at any time. They will not let you into the country. And after going through the passport control, you find yourself in this kind of wild bazaar. Everyone is shouting. They want to carry your luggage. The airport itself is half empty, but there are some offices here, but they're closed. There's DHL there, deserted. Even though my camera is aimed at me, the locals were reacting a little bit strangely.
Stop camera. Stop.
Why?
Because not allowed camera inside of the airport.
But I thought we were already out of the airport. No?
Stop.
Okay.
They're telling me that.
Speak to you.
Okay.
Okay?
The phrase "do not travel to Somalia" is written in black and white on the websites of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the United States, Great Britain, Germany, France, and Russia too. This is what the road looked like from Mogadishu airport on July 2016. This piece of metal was a car. You can only guess that by the fact that it still has one wheel. This ordinary fence was just blown to pieces. Although the anti-explosion wall caved in, it still survived. This is January 2019. The bomb exploded near the ministry that dealt with petrochemicals. The atmosphere at the airport is inexplicably tense, but overall we got out. This is the city of Mogadishu. It's Somalia's capital. The main problem in Mogadishu and Somalia is that there is no country as such. We call it the country of Somalia, but there is virtually no country. There isn't a single country. There are several scattered states which periodically fight amongst themselves. In the territory that Google Maps simply marks as Somalia, there are several unrecognised states. Somaliland, they have their own passports, currency and president, plus it's pretty safe there. Tourists are taken to the beach resorts by buses. You can safely walk without protection there. There are also several other autonomous states in Somalia, which, although allied with Somalia in general, still live according to their constitutions. One of them is Puntland, the homeland of those same pirates, where I visited and also found a real pirate. So there isn't a single government in Somalia at the moment. Entering the city, you get the feeling that you're on some kind of battle line, which is located in a remote village. There are very tough-looking military vehicles with machine guns on top everywhere. This is how they look in full gear. They ride down the same roads where goats walk around and defecate. There are roads full of cowherds, and where donkeys with carts are not some random occurrence or get lost in the city. The donkey is an absolute equal participant in the road traffic here. It also rides exclusively in its own lane, or more precisely, it walks. There is an incredible amount of weapons in the city. If the weapon is new, it means they're special forces. If the weapon is old, here's a guy riding a scooter with a Kalashnikov, they're an ordinary policeman. If there's someone at a checkpoint whose face is covered with a mask, like this one, it's better not to lift the camera to the window at all.
Is it that dangerous really in Mogadishu?
It's not that dangerous. It is, the problem here is the danger is there, but you cannot see the danger.
What do you mean?
It means anything can happen. You can, there might be explosion somewhere, so you never know when and where. So that's why we say the danger is there, but you cannot see the danger.
This man's name is Noor. He's 33. He's my guide, one of those who is building a career in Somalia. He doesn't have 6 children like a lot of people here. He only has 1, and recently moved from a shack to a normal apartment for $150.
When was the last time something happened in Mogadishu?
Last night.
Really?
Yes.
What happened?
A district commissioner has been blown up by a landmine. He didn't know he will get bombed.
Through to his car or?
Actually, it was a landmine, so he had a paperback, a black paperback with it, and then he saw the car coming in, and he put there, then it exploded. Now we are passing where the bomb happened last night.
Really?
Yes.
Right here?
Yeah, I'm gonna show you.
The whole city is divided into zones, fenced off by huge anti-explosion walls, barbed wire. But there are places where even plucked out tree roots are used as a fence. See the palisades here? Made out of sharpened rails on the right. There is an entrance to the green zone. These areas are located where the most important and protected objects are. They are called green zones.
Вот эта вот стена, которая находится за моей спиной, и вот вышка.
The wall behind my back and the watchtower, see? Fenced off like that. The green zones of the city. These are zones where ordinary people are not allowed. That is, the only people allowed inside are those who are connected to the government. Ordinary taxi drivers are not allowed here. You can only enter with a pass. And the entrance to these zones they are real fortresses, just like entering a castle. These green areas are fenced off by an impenetrable concrete wall from all sides. The wall was built in order to stave off the blast wave. Then at the entrance there are multiple concrete blocks that you need to pass. You have to drive a slalom around them. When I enter such zones, I'm not even allowed to take out my camera.
Green zone means only people, high-level people can enter here. Government officials, UN diplomats.
When we arrived at the place where the officer was blown up, we stopped there for exactly 1 minute.
Это самый центр Сомали.
This is the very center of Somalia and the city of Mogadishu. We are literally a stone's throw from where the explosion occurred. One of the officers was blown up, 2 guards were killed. Similar things happen here literally every day.
So is Mogadishu divided? So I mean into the areas which are controlled by the government and which are not controlled? What I read.
No, 100% it's under the government.
100% now, yeah?
Yes. But there are still some elements who can still do some bad things, like what happened yesterday. So these people, they are like a shadow. So you don't know where they are, how they look like. They are in the midst of the people. Okay? So that's the unseen danger. That's why we avoid staying long minutes and long time in one place, and that's why we avoid to stay longer hours in the city, because these people, they communicate. Yeah, they communicate.
So I would say the net of the shadow guys.
Al-Shabaab.
So they walk undercover, how to say, like something like this?
Yeah. They have intelligence. They're very strong.
They have their own intelligence, really?
Their own intelligence, yes. Who do information gathering. For example, now we left from the hotel. We are going to some place. Yeah, we are using walkie-talkie because we don't want interruption or someone to listen, or maybe third party. We have this. So the driver of that car and us, we communicate through this. We tell we just told him where we're going right now. Yeah.
I understood. They don't know.
Yeah.
You keep it in secret.
Yes, we keep it. Yes, we keep it in secret, because otherwise there are people there, there are children, there are some guys, so people, because there are activities going on. So these people will talk. A white guy is here, so that's the danger. We keep running.
We're now driving towards the line of contact, where the Somali army keeps the border strong against terrorist groups. Before becoming a member of Al-Shabaab, I was a simple farmer. The man who showed me the scar on his hand introduced himself to me as Yusuf and asked for his face not to be revealed. He worked for the Al-Shabaab terrorists for a long time. I was not given a weapon. I dug the ground and built defensive fortification structures, walls, barriers, as well as huge underground tunnels. We dug them. This is what I did at first. Over time, I became the chief engineer of all the Al-Shabaab. We built walls, dugouts, shelters, and everything else that goes with it. The Al-Shabaab group are the ones who blackmailed the most daring pirate, Hassan. I told you about him at the beginning, remember? So they started out by not letting the UN aid convoys come into the country, and they ended up arranging the largest terrorist attack in the world, after the one on 9/11, in the capital of Somalia, Mogadishu. A truck full of explosives was blown up and completely destroyed the hotel building, leaving hundreds of people buried under the rubble. A total of 587 people died. At one point, Al-Shabaab controlled almost half of the country. The Somali army have now pushed them out from their main locations, and they continue to terrorize the cities. The most important recommendation, which is given to absolutely all foreigners who fly to Somalia, to Mogadishu, is that until someone meets you at the airport, and while you're alone essentially, do not tell anyone, nor mention in any context which hotel you're going to. Because the biggest problem in Somalia are these constant acts of terrorism. They happen here regularly. Terrorists target hotels in which foreigners live. Why? Because the terrorist goal is not to kill people, but for their actions to draw international attention. The more foreigners are killed, the more the international press will cover the story. Every time I entered the hotel, I was inspected, and I've not seen a search like this in any airport in the world. They dug through every single pocket and opened every box, checked every device. It took them at least half an hour. This hotel is more like a prison. There are these crazy forms of fortification everywhere. Barbed wire. There are some kind of watchtowers. Security is just like, I don't know, like I'm entering the damn Pentagon. And then you go out and there's all this splendor. It's just a hotel. There are palms growing. People are walking around. A man with a machine gun sits in front of the elevator around the clock. The room costs about $150 a day. I would say that's a lot.
Okay.
The cost of this hotel doesn't really show, because this looks like a shabby old Soviet room with cracked tiles on the floor, dirty walls, old grandmother's furniture, an old TV set. I'm not complaining, because at the same time, this is one of the best hotels in Somalia. In Somalia, stars are not given so much for what we're used to getting. They're not for comfort. Here, the stars are assigned for safety. The main investment is in what this hotel is surrounded by. For example, there is a wall which is reinforced with concrete in order to stave off the blast wave if there is a sudden explosion nearby. There are many checkpoints, a huge number of machine gunners. The machine gunners are at every corner in this hotel. That is at the entrance. You walk 100 meters and there's another submachine gunner for you. You walk another 100 meters, there's another one. Or there's an iron gate. You walk another 100 meters, there's some kind of barrier. Each of them has a submachine gunner. The last terrorist attack was not far away. 3 months before my arrival, an elite hotel was blown up. Here's what happened. Journalists hiding behind an ambulance and a fire engine. The terrorists who are inside the hotel are shooting back. At the time, there was no wall yet. A car drove up right here, and there was an explosion. About 17 people died. It was a 5-star hotel. Ordinary people didn't come here for a vacation, so the only people who stayed here are military, generals, commanders.
Because you see, this life is beautiful life, and those guys don't want a life. So they tried to hit. They were using a vehicle explosion, and then they hit it, and then after that they stormed it, and then after it happened, the next day the hotel had been established, come back to life. It's beautiful, and then lives moved on. So now after 3 days they reopened it.
So in 3 days they reopened the hotel again, because people are so used to it here. Why would you close the hotel after every single terrorist attack? Look at what this place looks like now. A huge wall was built here. 2 towers or even 3, or God knows. Have a look over there. There's another wall here. These blocks you see are laid out around the perimeter of this whole hotel in order to extinguish the blast. I have to say that for the main part, the city of Mogadishu still looks like this. See, the walls are full of holes. These are left over from the wall. when there was just complete chaos here. Half of the city of Mogadishu looks like this house, completely destroyed. Look, there were once 3 floors here. Now there's a gap up to the roof on the first floor. The second floor is gone. On the third, almost everything. Look, the walls are full of holes. This is exactly what the city looks like in places where the main battles took place. There is another building like this across the street. There are lots of houses like this in the city. They are usually not rebuilt. They just build new ones. There is no time and money to rebuild the old ones. Almost all of these houses belong to private owners who got the hell out of here and didn't look back to their homes in the city of Mogadishu. We're now leaving the green zone. This is where real life begins. People are already driving here. On one hand, there are soldiers with grenade launchers, machine guns on pickup trucks. On the other, people taking the minibus on any old route. By the way, even if you're riding on the side of a car on the rear bumper, you still have to pay for the ride. It's roughly 10 cents. The sheer number of local taxi drivers is incredible. They swerve down the road as if they were riding bicycles.
From Mali niggas, I'm still on my Mali shit. My splash on waps, 9 Harvey Nicks. Enough time see my dog get nicked. See blue lights and my heartbeat skips. I could turn man target quick. Ras man like I ras my spliff. Hop out the ride on violence, you see my ride and it all start hiding.
This vehicle is called a tuk-tuk. It's a motorcycle in some kind of a box, similar to a car, that has more or less 3 seats. This is one of the main ways of making money here in Mogadishu. There is an unbelievable number of these tuk-tuks in Somalia. There are so many of them. A used tuk-tuk costs $1,500. A new one is $3,000. If you don't want to buy a tuk-tuk, you can rent one. It costs $400 a month. People earn money like this every day. This is a very good income here.
Got in a ride, bro, fill it with shells. The feds on me locked on me sitting in cells. Ain't giving me bail, I can't sit on this L. 9 in a ride and dippers as well. We got wipes and things on the shelf. Talking my name got smoked. It went by, bro, I did it myself. From my Mali niggas, I'm still on my Mali shit. My splash on waps, 9 Harvey Nicks. Enough time see my dog get nicked. See blue lights and my heartbeat skips. I can turn man target quick.
Our driver's name is Shafat. He's missing one finger, but this hasn't got in the way of him driving a tuk-tuk for the last 6 years. 6 years ago, it was impossible to imagine that people would just come here to visit the city, but it's quite safe now. The country is in much better shape now.
How many hours a day do you work now?
From early morning to the evening, about 12 to 16 hours.
So how much money does he get every day?
That depends. Sometimes you don't earn anything at all. Sometimes you earn $50, $60. For comparison, the average salary for the so-called middle class in Somalia is $300 to $500 a month. This is the salary of the people close to the government. Therefore, working as a taxi driver, you can do really well. They transport everything from people to sharks here. Look, there's a tuk-tuk filled to the brim with fish. The drivers love these little cars, like they were their own children. They take care of them as best they can. Did you notice that Shafai drove a tuk-tuk in which the roof had a real Soviet red carpet? Here's another guy who put a rug over the roof and a speaker in the back. The result is a festive design. Look, this driver wasn't lazy, and he sewed covers for the side mirrors in the shape of these velvet dresses. Nobody around here has boring looking fringes. You can't surprise anyone here. This guy has put added plastic cable ties of different colours, and the tuk-tuk ended up looking as if it had eyelashes on the spoiler. Here's another one that's showing off. He's put a number on the roof. It's also very fashionable to stick stickers here on the glass, and the more the better. Let's see which ones they have. This guy has a WhatsApp and Facebook logo stuck on. It's meant to be trendy. Now that he has a fancy social media logo, it means he is following the trends. He's the flashiest guy here. He has a sticker with the YouTube and TikTok logos. Get this, we're driving in a car. The security guard chief is riding with us. The rest of them are in a different car. He's scrolling on his phone and I hear a familiar sound. Listen to this. He's listening to the Russian artist Morgenstern, but in Somalia. This guy's sitting here. He's a security guard with massive machine gun. Doesn't speak a word of Russian. Anyway, it turns out that they have an African TikTok celebrity, and she makes her videos using Morgenstern's music. Just think, in Africa, in Somalia. Oh my god, it's spreading worse than COVID.
Я такого не видел вообще нигде.
I haven't seen anything like this anywhere else. Look, this is how the shops are designed in Somalia. At absolutely every store, whatever you might be selling, I don't know, sewing materials, clothes, anything you want, the owner hires an artist who draws all the goods the shop is selling. Look, you can see here that this person sells sugar. He has rice and flour. Also, you see the green ones. These are diapers. He has milk and everything else. All the buildings are painted in the same way. In Somalia, you can't build a gas station just like that. You need to have another one that's painted standing next to it. Otherwise, the customers won't have a clue what it is. A whole menu of the bar was painted on the walls straight away. Judging by the tiles that fell off, the menu hasn't changed for many years. They have watermelon bagels, samsa, burgers. This is a shop selling car parts. They're selling sewing materials here. You can't go wrong. Here is the pharmacy. Every medicine they stock is drawn. They offer female ultrasound services here. Notice that the belly is exposed and the head is not covered. You can also pluck your armpit hair at the same time. This here is an awesome establishment. See the scissors in the guy's crotch? You will never believe what services they offer in this greasy little trailer. Men get circumcised here. This is a very common service in Somalia. They painted the wall in front of the fitness club. This is a rare opportunity to see a Somali girl without a hijab. Well, the lazier shop owners don't hire artists, they just print out photos.
Вот так выглядит сам магазин.
This is what the store itself looks like inside. The shelves look like this, as if it was some kind of cellar. There isn't much space here. Everything is just crammed in. You can't use a shopping cart in here. This is what a typical shop looks like. Here are the diapers we were promised outside. Everything matches the paintings outside. There's one refrigerator for drinks in the whole store. For example, a bottle of Coca-Cola costs $50. At the current exchange rate, that's 40 rubles. It's even cheaper than in Russia.
It's local products. Local products. And how much is for sugar?
$26 for 50 kilograms. Guys, at the moment I just lost it. That's 35 to 40 rubles for 1 kilogram. In comparison, 1 kilogram of sugar costs 80 or even 100 rubles in Russia. I don't understand how that can be. But back to Somalia. At first I thought that they paint on the shops because people can't read. But the literacy rate amongst men is almost 50%. Amongst women, 25, which is not the lowest out of all of the African countries. As for the capital city, Mogadishu, a large part of the population can read and write here. As they say, the African mess is a mess. But discipline is taught here, starting from the first grade.
Вот так в Сомали выглядит вход в школу.
This is what the entrance to a school looks like in Somalia. So that you understand, there is some kind of construction site here. They threw down some cobblestones. There's some kind of huts here, and homeless people are living here. Or it's some sort of workshop. Everything is just completely covered in dirt. There's some unidentifiable liquid spilled here. There's mud. It smells as bad as everywhere else, but thank God it doesn't smell like fish, just like something else is dead. This is where the entrance begins. An interesting detail, if the kids are late for class, they're not even allowed inside these gates. When we arrived, quite a few kids who were late were sitting here. This is like some kind of other education. And then after this, we get to the regular Somali school. This is a huge schoolyard. There is sand on the ground. The kids are wearing sandals. The sand is different too. It's not like the sand from the beach in Samara. By the way, the beaches in Samara are very cool. There is dirt here, plastic bags, bottles scattered. Stones are scattered everywhere. Before you sit down at your desk, you need to assemble it. I'm serious. The girls there are carrying out the desk, or what's left of it. The school has a full-time carpenter, who has a whole cemetery of broken desks. He spends his days assembling the broken desks into at least one new one.
Сами занятия проходят вот в таких...
The classes themselves are held in this kind of one-story building. They are built around the edge of this schoolyard. It all looks pretty strange. There's no doors at all at the entrance to the classroom. Now we'll go into the classroom itself. Let's see how children are learning in here. We're going in. Each class has 20 to 40 students. Children here simply don't have enough desks. They're just sitting right in front of the board on the floor. To be precise, this is not a real floor, it's a step on which the teacher stands to write the assignments on the board. But for some, there isn't enough space even on this step.
Например, стоят девочки.
For example, there are 4 girls. They don't have a bench because it's broken. They took it out. It just collapsed. They promised to fix it now. Then they will bring it back. There is a school desk with one leg falling off, and it's considered to be in good shape because it hasn't collapsed yet. The children sit together at the desks, as many of them together as they like. It's sometimes 2, sometimes 3, sometimes 4 of them sitting together. And check out how they're sitting. You can immediately see who's a nerd at school and who is mischievous.
Вот это класс, где ребята учатся постарше.
This is a class with older kids. They are very obedient. I started talking and they just fell silent at once. This class is really too full. Look, they're sitting together in groups of 4, and not everyone has a bench to sit on. The desks are set up in such a way that you have to go straight through. You literally have to squeeze through sideways. It's not because I'm too big, but because it's actually that tight. There are 60 people in the class here. Up to 5th grade, boys and girls study separately. After that, they study together, but sit on opposite sides of the class. Girls cover themselves starting from 1st grade, but it is forbidden to cover your face so that the teacher does not confuse the students. This class is having a physics lesson.
He's talking about the boiling point of water. The freezing point of water is 0 degree, and the boiling point of water is 100 degrees centigrade.
Please note how children are taught. I've never seen anything like this. The teacher says 3 words. The children repeat it, then they go round in a circle. The children are not just given the information that water boils at 100 degrees, they actually sit with the whole class and cram this one paragraph of text. What the hell?
To make them understand it, they repeat it all together, yeah?
Exactly, this is a kind of methodology. Every day the teachers write something on the blackboard, then the teacher read the lesson and the students read after him.
Abdul Qadir Ali Musai teaches English. He's really great at English. This happens in almost 100% of the cases. If a Somalian person studied abroad in the neighbouring more developed countries, Kenya, Uganda or Tanzania.
I graduated from secondary school in Kenya. I even graduated English literature from Somali National University. And I've been teaching this language for almost 10 years. Exactly.
What is your salary here?
The salary for a teacher, exactly, is 322 USD per month here. It's just, it's not enough for the teacher to just manage his life, because, the rent of your house just costs, the room just costs, 80 USD. When you're just, when you're just living in an apartment which just contains, which is about 3 rooms, it's just 380s, that 3 times 8, just 240 USD, and the rest 60 is not enough for you. $60 is not enough for you to manage your life. That's very difficult there.
They also have a special seating arrangement, front and back row.
There is great difference between those who are sitting at the back and those who are sitting at the front. Those ones who are sitting at the back are the youngsters, the short ones. The ones who cannot hear something.
So why there are so many children who have ear problems?
Exactly, because here in Somalia there was a lot of explosions and a lot of problems. Explosions, yeah, that's because they're missing their hearing.
Can you imagine what amounts of chaos the country has to be in order for the schools to have to put together a whole seating system for those with concussions and those who are deaf, who then sit in the front row? It is interesting that this brutality in Somalia wasn't always like this. All of these beautiful buildings that now only have a few walls left were once whole. This is what Mogadishu looked like in the 60s before the civil wars. Normal asphalt roads with expensive cars, tuk-tuk driving past occasionally, but carefully, and almost no donkeys with carts, no people with weapons. There's even a traffic cop, and he doesn't have a single weapon. Now, every one of them has at least a machine gun. The 60s were a short period in history when almost no one tried to interfere in Somalia. The country was just coming to be. The fact is that even during the Second World War, there was no country known as Somalia. Where Somaliland is now, Great Britain, or rather its colony, and the rest of the territory was Italy, who were fighting on Hitler's side at the time and lost. After much debate, the international community decided to grant independence to the country. In 1960, the state of Somalia appeared on the map. Almost immediately, the Soviet Union came here, invested 40 million rubles, created a military fleet, sent a bunch of specialists. Moscow, on the one hand, was helping people not die of starvation. On the other hand, it supplied them with so many weapons that there are still Soviet AK-47s here today, being sold in the markets for a couple of $100s. The situation got out of control when the local authorities, who were swimming in machine guns and donated money, began feeling their power and remembered that there were territories in the neighbouring countries that belonged to them, that they had to claim back urgently. President Siad Barre wanted a great Somalia for himself, so Somalia began to fight against Ethiopia, which was by that time also a zone of interest of the USSR. Moscow chose Ethiopia, took a shot against Somalia, and the Somalis were blown to pieces. As a result, the country fell apart into many provinces, which are ruled by the strongest and most daring factions. There is no police, no education, no healthcare. The civil wars started in 1980 and chaos set in, which the Americans tried to fight against. All of this turned into 30 years of madness, during which the ordinary people were scared even to go out on the street.
So we are going to the front line.
собственно, вот начинается песок.
There's increasingly more sand, a so-called desert, but you can't really call it a desert. The sand is very soft. This means that we've come as close as possible to the so-called front line. It is in this sand where the terrorists put mines, which kill many of the soldiers in the Somali army. There is a small town just behind these fields. It's called Danan. Less than 1,000 people live here. They couldn't escape in time, or some of them didn't want to run away from here. This city is now actually under the control of a paramilitary group. They are warning us that there is constant unrest here. Skirmishes arise often. We're told not to stay here for any more than 20 to 30 minutes. Lieutenant Naji Abdul Qadir Yusuf, who is now in charge of our security, personally served on the front line. Fighting is rare now. Sometimes the guys from Al-Shabaab attack, but they are met with resistance, because the army is there on high alert, ready for combat. Are these militants well armed? They're not too heavily armed. What remains there today are rather small groups, who don't have a lot of weapons. But they constantly ambush some. This is when they attack suddenly. For example, a group of 5 to 10 police officers is passing by. They quickly attack them and disappear. After you cross the point where there is no more Somali army, your life will be in danger. This is what life in cities that are controlled by terrorists look like. This is the city of Bulubarde. It is the main headquarters of Al-Shabaab. These shots from 2013 were filmed by the only journalist who was allowed to come close by the militants themselves, Jamal Osman. The people in headscarves whose faces are not shown, this is local police. Have a look at what they do. They enter a woman's store and demand that she cleans up the garbage from the street, saying it was too dirty. Then they go to the pharmacy with pistols and check that the medicines which they have in stock haven't expired. Here they come to a mini supermarket. They go around with pistols to check the shelf life of the products as well. And then there's suddenly a call to prayer, and that's it. Just try not to go to the mosque.
Pray outside in the heat.
They stop trading at the market. They stop the passing cars. Here is a merchant who, instead of going to pray, stands there counting his money. He's in trouble now. Yusuf says that he didn't lead a good life when he joined the jihadists. Before that, he was a simple farmer. He lived in a tribe. But another clan came to claim his land one day, and they started to drive Yusuf and his tribe out from their lands simply because they had more weapons. There was the issue of ethnic cleansing, tribal wars. We were driven out. They took our farms, our lands. They raped our wives. We suffered very badly. In those days, I tried to defend myself, but they even tried to cut off my hand. For defending yourself? Yes, because I defended myself. They wanted to take over the farm. Corn, vegetables. I tried to defend myself and they stabbed me in the thumb. He still has a scar. I decided to join Al-Shabaab. It's like calling your older brother. Al-Shabaab are terribly feared here. No tribe would dare to touch their members. I contacted my relative, who was already a member of Al-Shabaab, and they made an appointment for me. We met up. They asked me, "What can you do? What's your profession?" I said my profession is digging. At the time, they had no one else who was good at it. They constantly needed shelters to hide out in. They realized that I could be useful to them, but they didn't hire me at first. I had to pass a test to see if I was somehow connected with the government or if I was a spy or something. They started to investigate.
Бывают дни, когда охрану решают усилить.
There are days when they decide to ramp up the security. Just now, another person with a gun got into our car. There he is, sitting over there. He sits there with an AK-47 resting on his knees. Do you know where we're going? To a place called Bakara Market. At the time, I still had no idea what a savage place that was.
Anton, this place now we are going here. So the people here are different from those we have seen on the other side of the town.
Why?
Okay. Because these people, they have been under Al-Shabaab for a long time. Okay? So they still somehow, you know, not friendly with journalists and the foreigners.
Friendly to foreigners. That's putting it pretty mildly. It is above the Bakar market that an American helicopter was shot down, and the Americans really wanted to help bring order in Somalia. The Black Hawk Down incident of 1993, the events were depicted in a famous American action movie with Orlando Bloom and Tom Hardy called Black Hawk Down. On the way to the market, we started to be crammed in by a lot of tuk-tuks. When this happens, the security gets nervous because they know that many people in the area are armed. The security guard pulls out a machine gun and fires it into the air. I got tense because I saw another guard do the same. He was accompanying some officer. The man in the tuk-tuk began to fire back at him. A minute passes and the taxi drivers become even angrier after the shot. They surround us and shout from all sides.
They're angry.
Yeah? No, it's just saying, why did you fire?
After that, all my attempts of going out on the street were in vain. Listen to the moment when I tried to persuade Noor. I even filmed it.
Yeah, I'm right here. I will stay right in front of the car, right here.
No, we can't let you get out of the car here.
Right.
Remember in the beginning, Noor talked about the network of agents working for the terrorist group Al-Shabaab. Most such groups are here in this city. Bakara Market is not just a territory where many remain loyal to Al-Shabaab. For a long time, it was the main base for jihadist headquarters, with underground tunnels, manholes and bunkers. Do you know who built them? The first assignment I was given was the Bakar Market. It was a large base for Al-Shabaab in Mogadishu from 2007 to 2012. I was the first person who dug fortification structures from Al-Shabaab all over the Bakar Market. What exactly did you build? Big holes were dug at first, and they were built not only for fortification structures, but also secret hideouts. For example, important members wanted to go from one shelter to another without rising to the surface, so they used tunnels. We built a tunnel from the Bakara Market to their hiding place. Afterwards, I worked on digging up Mogadishu in the north. Seriously? Yes, it was a lot of work. How intricate was the tunnel system? The tunnel was 1.5 meters high, and they wanted to have access for even the tallest men. It was 1 or 2 meters wide. How many meters or kilometers long was the tunnel? It's hard to say exactly. But for example, we built a tunnel under the main road, so the tunnel is as long as the street. That's about 5 to 7 kilometers inside the city. What did they use such long tunnels for? For 2 things. The first is so that fighters can always quickly disappear or, on the contrary, jump out. If the army attacked, they used the tunnels to leave the area very quickly. The second reason is that if a tank or other military vehicle drives over the tunnel, they could blow up the tunnel and the heavy tank would fall through. Was there a different type of tunnels used for this program? No, they're the same ones. No wonder that simple guerrilla, as well as untrained civilians, were able to defeat the professional American military here. There are so many people here who still support this grouping. They look at us extremely negatively here, looking at us constantly. They still believe that living according to the Sharia law is the right way to live. Therefore, they're extremely negative towards all forms of authorities here, and especially to foreigners. Because foreigners, in their opinion, intervened in this country and turned its whole structure upside down. 1992. It's been 15 years since Somalia hasn't had a government. Everyone is at war with everyone else. The country has no police, no education, no healthcare. Hunger alone killed 300,000 people. That's a huge number. International organizations send aid, food convoys, but all of it is stolen by local thugs. The most audacious of them is Field Commander Mohammed Adid. In order to deal with him, the United States send UN peacekeeping forces to Somalia, 26,000 military members who must rein Adid in and bring order to things. But turns out to be very cunning. He surrounded himself with thugs such as himself, and through the local radio he turned the population against the Americans, saying that they will make everyone a slave. The worst thing happened when the American tried to take 2 of Adid's men. A massacre, which is included in the school books, began. For more than a day, the whole city fought against the US troops. The Americans shot at the militants. They dropped their weapons. Women and even children picked up the weapons and started firing back. The Somalis shot down 2 helicopters over the Bakara Market and killed 19 soldiers. As a result, the Americans withdrew their troops from Somalia. Field commanders who established their rule stay in power in the country for a long time. Do you remember anything from when you were there, in the territory controlled by Al-Shabaab, that surprised you a lot? Yes, when we first arrived. They gathered all the newly arrived so we could watch an execution. They caught 3 soldiers from the Somali army. They were detained at night. They were blindfolded. They gathered us to watch everything. Where did this happen? In Mogadishu. I mean on the street or in a building? I was in public, in the street. Seriously? Yes. Did many people see this? They invited everyone that passed by to make it clear that they were very serious. Were you standing on the road or what? in the middle of the street. They didn't say much. They brought these people and said that this was a lesson, like a message. This is the first time I'd seen anything like that, so I was very shocked. This was the moment that I realised I had to get out of there. By then, Yusuf wasn't merely a resident of the area. He was controlled by Al-Shabaab, who had become his employer. Getting caught trying to escape meant meeting the same destiny as those 3 soldiers.
Знаете, что такое традиционное?
Do you know what a traditional Somali dinner contains? Camel meat.
Бананчик, да, видите?
Do you see the banana? You might think, what the hell? There is rice, meat, and a banana. What kind of mix is this? The thing is that bananas are eaten instead of bread here. They add it to make the meal more satisfying. Let's try the camel meat. First of all, you need to smell it. Shit.
Ну, запах прям...
It has a gamey smell. The whole thing is rustic. Poor camel.
Довольно вкусно.
Pretty tasty. Not much different from chicken. It's roughly the same as chicken, just tougher.
Но при этом, знаете, что...
At the same time, the taste is, take like turkey for example, which is tougher than chicken, but turkey is healthy. You eat it and you feel as if you've eaten a beefed up chicken. Chicken after it has been to the gym. This isn't the same thing. You're eating something that's very much like chicken, but you don't feel that you're eating healthy chicken. You actually feel like you're eating an old, exhausted chicken who's run its course, aged, and they slaughtered it. For the Somali, camels are both food and a means of transport, and even a factory machine.
Я такого вообще никогда в жизни не видел.
I've never seen anything like this in my life. This is a Somali factory that produces oil. What's happening? They put a plant, which grows here in Somalia, into this pillar. Then they tie a camel to it. Check out the camel going round. They've covered its eyes with some kind of cone so that it doesn't realise that it's just going in circles, so that it doesn't go crazy and just drop dead on the spot, I guess. The camel goes around in circles for about an hour. During this time, the plant, which was placed inside, is ground and turned into oil. The oil is then poured out and sold. This is how a lot of farmers live. Cows, goats and donkeys are bred right in the middle of the city, and many of them really do have an entrepreneurial streak. Look, someone wrote their farm's phone number right here on the goat's side. The goat runs around and people will know where to call to order the same one, only fried. Small business is blossoming in Somalia. I haven't seen as many amateur businessmen as there are here anywhere. Here's the local cafeteria. A man pulled up an awning, set up thermoses, sheltered the place off from the wind and the sun with some kind of board, and sits there offering coffee. And this here is a more expensive place. Even though the stand is somewhat decrepit, as if it was pulled out from the Titanic and dried, a bunch of rags protect you from the heat. There is even a veranda for those who like the plus 40-degree heat. Here is another similar place, but you can also wash your things here. It was opened in a busy location next to a half-collapsed building. This is VIP treatment. Everything is top quality. There are corrugated iron slates, and even stylish strips of scotch tape to add to the design. The most popular place in the city is the coast. Alcohol is prohibited here, so everyone gets high on cat. It's this type of plant that gets you high after about 15 minutes of chewing. It's technically a drug, but in Somalia, as well as in many African countries, it's not prohibited. That's why they sell it like we sell parsley. There's a woman here offering 2 bundles at once. There are some boys relaxing on the shore. Many of them live right here on this so-called beach.
Здесь ни песка, здесь даже камни.
There's no sand here. There's no stones as such either. This is a beach made out of some kind of dirt. It stinks horribly here. It stinks of dead fish. The most interesting thing is that people still live here. You see, for example, there's some kind of building which this guy built. He hung up some blankets, he built some kind of frame. He lives there, spends the night. It's warm. You can catch fish right here. You don't need anything else. On the other hand, it's the most popular place for fishing. Take a closer look and guess what they're using as bait. Worms, maggots, an apple, a banana. The correct answer is banana. You see, they have one banana for everyone. They put it on the hook, which is tied to another super innovative device. This is the guy's fishing rod.
Это удочка у парня.
This is what the guy is using as a rod. This is a plank that is wrapped in fishing line. There's a hook and a sinker. He goes fishing and he feeds the family like this. What is caught is stored in holes in the rocks, which are covered with napkins. This guy's got a bite. The fish ate the bait, and he barely has time to catch the line, and he's trying to get the fish. The fish managed to get off. He's got upset. He lost the hook as well as the fish, and the hook is the most expensive part of his contraption. This guy's name is Khabib. He's 42. He works as a police officer. In his spare time, he goes fishing. Believe me, not because he has a good life. Selling this fish, they can earn $3 or $4 a day. Most often, it's the children who catch fish for the family.
Do you sell your fish or you feed your family?
We eat it.
Do you have enough food and water at home? No?
We eat once a day in the morning.
Oh. How many people are in your family?
7.
Is it difficult to live in your family?
Yes, the father left the family. This is what the neighborhoods where the boys live usually look like. Naked children run through the dirty streets. The women chase after the cows with sticks. Someone is washing clothes in a basin outside. There is no asphalt, nothing. Everything just spills out onto the ground. Hell, everything is dirty. If you don't have a home, that's okay. You can take some iron sheets and put them together and build some kind of hut for yourself. In general, this is just kind of madness. It's not a neighborhood, it's just a village in the middle of the city. Children whose snot, it seems, attracts only flies, are playing with empty crumpled bottles and kefir boxes. Goats are chewing on plastic bags. Here's one stuck to the barbed wire which fences off the store. This is a madrasa in this garage, a Muslim educational school. Here are the smallest ones. The door is blocked with a board so that the kids would not run away. In the center there's a teacher's chair and that's it. This is what one of the poorest neighborhoods in the city of Mogadishu looks like. It is actually a village, consisting of huts built out of metal sheets. There is garbage scattered all over. There is an unbelievable number of people here. Look, just while we're here, enough people to fill a whole theatre parterre lined up. A huge, incredible amount of people. There are these small passages. People here are almost living on top of each other. We'll go inside now. I'll show you how people live inside. This is what their dwellings look like. It's a hut, built from metal sheets. There's absolutely nothing on the floor here. They just decided to build a dwelling on the clay ground. There is also a tree here. Nobody was bothered by the fact that there was a tree here. To hell with it, there's a tree. So what? You can still build a house here. 8 people live here. Here are the kids. They have only one bed for 8 people here. The owner sleeps on this bed, the man sleeps alone. Then you turn the corner. Here is... I don't know what this is. It's hard to call it even a room. It's sort of a dead-end street kind of thing. Then someone else's space begins here. They can just hang the laundry here. I don't even really understand where they cook. The kid just sleeps right here. Oh my god, this is just horrible. Such horror. At the moment, my mother is looking after only 3 children, but there are 8 of them in the family. Are you paying for this room? No. Did you build this house yourself? We were given it for free. What do you live on? Where do you get the money? I sometimes go to wash clothes for other families. My husband goes to pick up the trash. How much do you and your husband earn? I earn between $1.50 to $2, and he earns about $2. So this means you only earn $4. What can you afford with this money? We need to buy water and food for the baby. There is usually enough money to eat only one meal, because we constantly have to buy water. We cannot afford much. We have to buy absolutely everything. Is there no running water here? No, you have to buy it. These settlements are usually inhabited by refugees who fled from communities taken over by the terrorists of Al-Shabaab. When I saw that execution, I was shocked, and I began to prepare my escape. The terrorist engineer Yusuf became an officer, a person who was trusted. Therefore, he could not just quit, he had to run. I left in the middle of the night. First I went on foot from the Banadir area to the north of Mogadishu. I was going east. After that I started to hide in the bushes of Mogadishu. I got to the neighbouring region, the Denil region. At the time the front line passed through there. There was an abandoned area there. There were trees, bushes. I walked between them the whole time. I avoided the roads because I was trying not to come across any fighters from Al-Shabaab or soldiers of the Somali army. When I got to my destination, I turned off my phone and decided to lay low. I kept my head down. I ended up spending a year there. Only after that did I return to normal life. Didn't they look for you? They looked for me, but it was impossible to find me, because the place where I was had nothing to do with where I lived before. But they could find your relatives, who helped you become an employee at Al-Shabaab. The man who brought me to Al-Shabaab was already dead. He was killed in a battle with the Somali army. Therefore, there was no way for them to find me. And my last question, tell us how Al-Shabaab convert people to become one of them. How do they force people in their cities to trust them? They use two types of tactics. First, they have special people who brainwash the population and tell people that this is the right way to go. This is religion, jihad. You will go to heaven. These people came to take over your country. Something like that. Another tactic is that they help those who suffered greatly from the clashes between clans, like me. Such people are ready to take up arms, just so that they can get the bandits' protection. I'm now at the very edge of Africa. This is the Indian Ocean. Many kilometers in that direction is Australia. There's nothing before that. Here on the coast is where piracy in Somalia was born. In the next issue, I'm driving to an even wilder part of Somalia, Puntland, where there really is no centralized power, no police. I will meet a real pirate there. He hijacked ships 3 times and earned unrealistic amounts of cash by Somalian standards. Did they hold the captain captive? We negotiated with the owner of the company. After we came to an agreement, they set the exact time. In 3 or 4 days, a small helicopter was going to bring the money and drop it with a parachute. Subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on the next episode. Also, subscribe to my Instagram. The highlights from my latest trips appear much earlier there. This is Lyadov and how the people live.